Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's well. Hope you've all had a good bank holiday weekend. And yeah, if you're tuning in, thank you very much once again. Back with another championship chat. And yeah, I'm happy to say that, got another couple of great guests alongside me this evening. I've got Freya, who is a big Watford fan. And we're just having a little chat before I hit live. And on X, she's very much football top oriented. She's got a I don't know. I'm not going to do this justice. I think I'm going to pass over to you, Frey. You're going to do a much better explanation to it than I am. So do you want to just explain what it is you've got going on Twitter at the minute? It's like a community, I guess you call it. Is that right?
Yeah. So I have a really big passion for football shirts. I work in football shirt design, which is really cool, sportwear design. And a couple of weeks ago, I decided to reach out to see if there was any other like-minded individuals. I've always wanted to have a group chat, and I did, and it blew up. And yes, I ended up making a little shirt community where it's going really well. I only started it today, actually. A couple hundred people in it already, and people are kind of saying what their most wanted kit is from the new season or their favorite kit that they already own. And yeah, definitely some really cool ones out there that I haven't seen before.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I was looking at some of your posts earlier, and I was seeing where you'd placed the West Brom strips. So I'm quite happy with where you put the West Brom strips in your championship kit in terms of where they ranked, etc. So we'll get onto that a little bit later on.
It was so close to being, sounds good.
Yeah. So and then we've also got Baden with us. He's a good friend of mine who is obviously a West Brom fan. He's got a page over on Instagram. So yeah, first of all, thank you very much, guys, for taking part tonight and joining the chat. And I'm just going to get stuck straight into it. And Freya, I'm going to come to you first. Watford, what a start they've made to the season. As an outsider looking in, it's not what I was expecting. I will be honest with you. Watford were one of my teams to potentially struggle this season, but I think, I know it's early doors, but they've got some people eating their words, haven't they? What do you make of Watford's start to the season?
You know what? If someone told me we would win our opening 3 games, I would have said, you're lying. That's not true. Although I have to say, I think we haven't really had a challenging side yet. We've played Stoke at home, Derby County at home, and Millwall away is a hard game. But I think we definitely have what I would say harder games coming up. We've got Sheffield United away next, not an easy game. They're obviously going to do really well this season, push for promotion, potentially win the league. After that, I'm pretty sure we've got Coventry at home and then, Norwich away. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But definitely really positive. Cleverly, definitely changed the club, I feel.
Yeah, it's good to see, because obviously Cleverly came in, I want to say about kind of midway through last season. And I remember when Watford came to the Hawthorns and I was really impressed. And yeah, they just seemed to be well organised. Cleverly obviously had them playing a lot better. And you had quite a decent finish to last season under Cleverly. So yeah, you think very much it looks like you've kind of continued that momentum into this season. Looks like the players, are enjoying working under Cleverly. I don't know much about him myself, but I know, obviously as an ex-player, but I know he's quite highly regarded as a coach. Are you excited to kind of the season with Cleverly in charge?
Yeah, 100%. I think obviously, a bit of a revolving door with us and managers for the last couple of years. And I think if we're going to keep anyone for a whole season, it will be him. Yeah. And I think he'll do a good job. So he was obviously kind of forced to retire due to injury. But he knows most of the players, most of the squad he actually played with, which I think has made a huge difference. So he's definitely playing to their strengths. He's, definitely a huge change. I don't think our squad has massively changed from last season, but like seeing us play this season, we just look like a whole different team.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, I'll come over to you then, Baden. Same question to you. West Brom start to the season. Another encouraging start like Watford. What do you make of it so far?
Personally, I'm ecstatic about the way we've started our season. For us personally, I think it was a really difficult first 3 games on paper. Obviously, starting our season on the road, away from home, a place that we've struggled quite frequently over the last bunch of years, and to get the first 3 points, to get the opportunity for a striker like Josh Maja to get his first West Brom hat-trick when that was such a position of question for us heading into the season. I think that was a great boost. And then, of course, heading back home to play Leeds, who similar in a lot of ways to, a club like Sheffield United, who Freya was touched on briefly, is a team who are expected to be in that hunt to be going right back up. And to get a point, I think, was very solid. I think both teams played not to lose in that game. And at the end of the day, I think a point was justified. And then, of course, going back away from home to play Stoke, who is traditionally a team who West Brom have struggled to get results against, and to get 3 points in a game that maybe wasn't our 100% best performance, but to manage to get the result, I think that's a fantastic start to our season.
Yeah, I think, I'll come back to you then, Freya. So do you think maybe, like the point you made at the start, in terms of the teams you've played, obviously you got 3 wins from 3, which obviously I think getting 3 wins on the trot is just really difficult Championship level, isn't it? Regardless. But do you think maybe Watford fans have got to maybe rein it in a little bit, or is the kind of consensus among the Watford fans we're not getting too carried away yet? We've made a really good start, but we're not getting too carried away.
I think we have made a good start. I think, it's been the last 2 seasons in particular have been awful for us. Where you look at where we were, 5 years ago in the Prem, FA Cup final, up for Europe, and then stuck mid-table in the champ 2 seasons running. We didn't really have a star player, so I'm definitely enjoying it, that's for sure. I'm trying not to get too carried away because I don't think we've had a proper challenge yet. And I think Sheffield United, that will be a challenge away, and I think that will be really telling, put us under some pressure, and go from there, I think. But I don't think too many fans are getting too excited. I think we all know what Watford are like deep down, and hopefully it won't trail off, but in the past it has.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I was watching just before, just doing a little bit of research and stuff before the show, and I was watching all the highlights back from the 3 games. And one thing it seems you're playing some attacking, really easy on the eye attacking football, and all the games, maybe bar the Stoke one where it looked quite a comfortable routine win for yourselves. The other 2 matches seem really kind of basketball back and forth. Watford were kind of just throwing plenty of men forward, and they looked like really exciting games. Is that something that Cleverley's done then? Is he trying to play a more kind of attacking style football, a little bit more easy on the eye? Because obviously Valérien Ismail was the manager beforehand, and myself and Baden being West Brom fans, we know kind of what his kind of approach was like, and it wasn't, easy on the eye and Ismail weren't kind of two phrases you'd put together. So is that something Cleverley's trying to do? A bit more attacking football, easy on the eye, provide a bit of excitement for the fans?
I definitely think it's a lot more exciting. We're definitely attacking a lot more bodies going forward, and we're kind of not settling. I found, last season we'd settle for the draw. It'd be 60 minutes, it's like, oh, well, we'll just settle now, we'll just defend. And it'd be against teams that realistically we should have been pushing, we should have really been, getting the win, and we weren't. So yeah, I'd definitely say we're attacking more. I think it's just the end product sometimes we lack. Yeah.
We're going to come on to transfer window and maybe kind of areas you guys still feel you need to strengthen in a minute, but I'll come back to you then, Bain. So obviously Carlos Corberan, he's been at the club now for 2.5 seasons. You obviously missed out on promotion last season, losing out to Southampton in the playoffs. Is there anything you've seen from these first 3 games that suggest kind of maybe a different approach? Because I've seen, obviously I'm a West Brom fan myself, but I've seen a lot of people on social media as well suggesting that, it's a bit more easy on the eye. We're maybe not as pragmatic in our approach so far this season, and we're trying to kind of dominate and control games a little bit more. What have you taken from the first 3 games? Do you think there's some truth to that, or do you think it's very much Corberan from last season just kind of gone into next?
I do agree that there is some truth in that statement that fans have said about potentially being more attacking, more trying to control games, but there definitely is a few patterns within the managerial style of Carlos Corberan that you can see him just continuing to attempt to adapt certain aspects of what he likes to do in a game, whether that's similar to having his defensive shape where, you have a fullback sort of tuck into the back line and your winger steps in and becomes the fullback, if that makes sense to you. He's sort of done that a little bit, having obviously a pretty large left back in Hegem playing the 90 minutes. It's been good to see. Obviously, Carlin Grant has been a revelation so far this season. And if you would have said that to me at this time last season, I would have thought you're yanking my chain. But he has been so fit that he can sort of drop back into that sort of left back position when he's playing on the wing. And I think that just it allows the balance to be really well organized again. I think that's the simple way to put it. I feel it makes us quite compact when we have to defend, but he's in good enough shape that he continues to run and get forward when that defensive break is done. And I just think that's one thing that we've seen, and he's been a focal point to the tactical the success of the club.
Yeah, I'll move kind of into the next question where I'm going to discuss, transfer window, signings made. I'll come back to you, Freya. I'll come back to that point, Baden, in a second, but I'll come back to you, Freya, in terms of, we've obviously got, I think it's the 30th of August, the transfer window shut. So we've obviously only got 3 days left of the transfer window. I was having a look at Watford's business before we came on live, and it looks like you've made quite a few signings already. I guess the first question is, what do you make of the addition so far? Has anyone caught your eye from those first 3 games who's been brought in the summer, and also where do you think Cleverley and Watford need to be strengthening before the transfer window slams shut?
I think we've brought in 8 players, which is insane for us. You look at what we did in the January transfer. I think we brought in Dennis on loan, and we signed a player we already had on loan as a permanent, and that was all of our business. I felt like we needed more than that. So to bring in 8, very happy with. By the sounds of it, it's a lot of players that Cleverley's been wanting, and the board have let him do it, which is not usual for us. We brought in a player on the left, Yasser, I want to say Larouche. I've seen him, so I can't remember. I wasn't at Millwall, so I can't remember if he played in that, but he came on against Stoke and he started against Derby County, and he looks like a very exciting player. He's young, he's speedy, his positioning, he reads the game well. I'm definitely very excited about him. And then someone we need to strengthen. I mean, I don't know if we're going to sign anyone else, because we have brought 8 players in and we have done like incredible business for us. So this is me maybe being a bit nitpicky. I would love to have more of a championship, 15, 20 goals a season striker. We haven't got one of those. We have got 2 strikers alternating. We've got Bayo and Rivich. Who, if you could combine them, would be fantastic. I think that's what we are missing, but I don't really see us bringing someone like that in before the window shuts.
Yeah, I think kind of 75% of the championship are after that kind of 15 20-goal striker, aren't they? I think there's only kind of a handful of teams in the Championship who've got maybe a player of that caliber. Do you think then that the fact that the board have shown so much faith in Cleverley, in bringing in 8 new signings for him, do you think that's kind of showing finally that the Watford board and owners they've got faith in someone? Because I know you touched on it earlier on in the show that and Watford, you're probably aware, they're a bit of a running joke in seasons, past few seasons, in that turnaround of managers. Do you think the amount of new signings that have come in is showing that maybe they have got a lot of faith in Cleverley that he's gonna do a good job this season?
I don't want to speak too soon. I'm hoping they do. I will be really disappointed if we sack him unfairly. Really, not only because he was a player for us. I loved him as a player. He was with us for so long. I think it'd be so disrespectful. But I think we had a really bad habit of just sacking people. Like, look at Rob Edwards. We sack him, and then he goes and takes our rivals to the Premier League for the first time in the same season. So, yeah, I really do hope that they do back him, because I think if they're not going to back him, I don't know who they're going to back.
Yeah, well, and you were touching on some of the, like, I'll be honest, I was looking at some of the players you brought in, and it's a couple of the guests I've had on in previous shows. There seems to be, I don't know what, get yours and Baden's opinion on this, is there seems to be more Championship clubs this season kind of looking further afield and kind of plucking players from some of maybe, Europe's more obscure leagues. And it seems like, Watford are taking the same approach. They've brought in a few guys from France, the second division in France and teams in Italy and Switzerland. And it seems to be, more teams in the Championship are kind of bringing these players in. Most of us fans have never heard of them, but it seems like there's potentially a few gems out there, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Oh, I think she might have froze. Oh.
Yeah, I think I think it's something that Watford have done for a while. Oh.
I can hear you. You're with us.
I think it's something we've done for a while. We kind of always have plucked players out of nowhere, and we've had a few that have really worked out. You look at when we had Richarlison, plucked him out from Brazil, and he did really well. Obviously, went off to Everton, I want to say, and then obviously Tottenham. And then we have some that don't work out, and are with us for 6 months, and then someone mentions them season down the line. I'm like, completely forgot we had that guy.
Yeah.
But no, I think we have some more promising ones than we've had in the past. Some that are maybe a little bit more known, or at least younger. So hopefully they'll have time to develop. I think we've got a really good mix of players who are older with experience. You look at, we've brought Sissoko back. He's 35. I didn't realise that's quite how old he was. But you wouldn't think he's 35. He's incredible, and I think he's, leader. We've been missing, experience we've been missing, and then we surround him with some youngsters. So it's definitely a nice balance.
Yeah, sounds like you've done some good business so far in the window. I'll come on to you then, Baden. So, West Brom again. I think we've made 8 signings so far in this window. I think that's right, 8 or 9. So similar amount of new additions to Watford. What's your take on the signings the Baggies have made so far? And with the window shutting in a few days' time, where do you think the club need to strengthen before it closes?
So first and foremost, I think part of it, something that has to be said for us, is the financial situation has been a restraint. Definitely something that has shaped what kind of business we've done this summer. We've seen a few of our more senior players head toward the exit door, more so for the fact that we want to get those wage bills off, and I think part of it, actually, it's been beneficial, because I feel like we've been desperate for a little bit of a shakeup for a few years now. We haven't really had a proper shakeup since the year we got promoted with Slaven Bilic. So I think that itself has been a bit refreshing for us. So far, other than Hegem, we haven't really seen any of the other players come in and be a force in the starting lineup or even off the bench as of yet. But I think the time will tell whether these are good signings or whether we're gonna look at this season and regret exactly the changes we've made. I will say that it looks like these guys are starting to get comfortable in their spot at the Albion. I thought Dobbin came on against Stoke and he looked the best that he's looked so far. We've seen flashes from Diakite, another younger player who's come in, of potentially being a player who can be in and around the squad. So I definitely would say there's some promising players, but I'm yet to see anything yet that makes me think, that one or a bunch of them are really exciting me outside of maybe Hegem at left back.
Yeah, I think with most teams, Freya probably said the same with because nowadays more transfer. It's very rare all the transfer wheeling and dealing gets done early, isn't it, nowadays, especially for clubs in the Championship when relying a lot on loan signings, and a lot of the business seems to get done when the season's already up and running. So I think probably, I don't know, 10 games into the season's 10 dozen games into the season's probably the point where you then start maybe judging some of those new signings you've made, because they've obviously had a bit of time then to work on the training pitch with the managers, haven't they, and get accustomed to the team and the tactics and the approach, etc. So it's difficult to judge now, isn't it? But I don't know about you guys, but it's always exciting when these signings are coming in from abroad that you've never heard of. Then you jump on YouTube and you watch a little 5-minute montage on them, and they're the best thing, the best player that's ever. They're the next Ronaldo, aren't they? They always look amazing in those videos. But
can I mention something as well, Tom?
Yeah.
Just in between. So Watford I think going into this season, they sold a Canadian player who actually I know quite well, Ismail Akone. I think they got a decent amount of money for him too. I just wanted to ask what you thought of that as well. Just that's my one bit of Watford transfer knowledge. So I was wondering what you thought of that.
Do you know what? I was sad to see him go, but he deserves to go. Like, he deserves to play for a top club. The fact we had him for so long was incredible. He got Canadian Young Player of the Year, I'm pretty sure. He was incredible. He probably was the light in the tunnel, in the darkness of last season. We'd have these awful games, and he was just incredible. And I loved watching him, and it was sad to let him go, but I think we all knew it was going to happen. I'm just glad it happened early. I feel like it's horrible when you get nearer the end of the transfer window, you're like, oh my God, maybe we're going to keep him. And then, last couple of days, then they go. And then you're like, okay, who are we going to bring in?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, when West Brom played against you guys last year, I thought he was the best player on the field on both teams. So
he typically was.
And I watched this past summer was the Copa America, and Canada was in it for the very first time. And even then, you can see he's only my age, which kind of annoys me a little. But but honestly, he's got something about him that he's just quality.
Yeah, he's gone to Marseille, hasn't he?
Obviously
playing for a top team in France, and I remember last season he was definitely standout for Watford, wasn't he? And it's kind of a bit bittersweet sometimes where you have these players and they're not going to be with you for very long, and that you've just got to enjoy them whilst you can.
Can.
That's it, yeah. So, but Baden, you did just last thing on transfers, transfer window short in West Brom. Where do they still need to strengthen, you think?
I think we still need a striker. Like Freya said, I mean, if there's one of those 15, 20 goal strikers walking around who's looking for a club, I think West Brom would take him. But
for peanuts as well. For peanuts.
Ideally, if he's on a free, that's West Brom's MO. But I think it's early days still. But it's a little bit of a concern that we've had, especially in the Leeds game. Corberan made subs near the end of the game, and he opted to bring on Jed Wallace to play up top over Devontae Cole, who we signed on a free from Barnsley, who is obviously more of a natural striker. We don't know, perhaps he's not quite fit or whatever it might be, but if it's a case of a lack of trust or a lack of thought on his ability, then we're obviously going to need someone who he can trust to put into games because, I mean, we know it as well as anybody else. You cannot rely on just having one fit striker because, you know, we've had a lot of injury issues with strikers over the last few years. And that having that the loss of that focal point player can change your whole season. Obviously, the stuff with DK, who's seemed just can't stay fit to save his life, and different players as well. That's my concern, I would say. Other than that, I think we have a really strong starting 11 at the moment. It's more so adding depth players who could come in, and if you need a stretch of games when someone first and foremost to give competition to certain players who you don't have as much depth in that position, so they don't get too comfortable and they can't rest on the fact that they're the only player who plays that position, which has been one of our issues in the past. And maybe even, like I think you guys both touched on, the fact that Premier League clubs will make the decision to loan out some of their younger talent who aren't going to have a role in their Premier League squad throughout the season. So I think that's something we definitely will have to have a look at as well. Oh, he's muted. There we go. Is he muted? Nope, he's muted.
Yeah, I can't hear.
I can't hear you, Tom. Just to finish on that point, though, I think what
Can
I
you
would
hear me
say,
now?
yeah, there you go. I
Sorry,
think we
guys,
all be in there balling on a budget,
Oh,
so
he's back.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's going to be interesting because I think there's a lot of championship clubs still wanting to do a lot of business, but I think a lot of teams are going to be kind of going for this similar. There's going to be going for the same players. It's going to be a bit of a free for all, I think. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in the next couple of days. Oh, we'll move on then onto players, all right, that are signed with the club. I've been asking all the guests that have come on previously to give me who you guys think is going to be your key player going forward in the season, and also a player who's one to watch. Maybe it's a bit of a youngster who you think is maybe going to kind of break into the first team this season, or someone who hasn't really maybe done much over the last few seasons, but you think might shine this season. So, yeah, I'll come to you first, Freya. Who do you think is going to be Watford's key man this season, and then who are you picking as maybe you want to watch?
Key man, that's hard. I think we have a few that really have come into their own recently. I'd say Kiambe is definitely one. You know, first two games he scored 3 goals. I want to say we've had him maybe for like 2.5 seasons now. And you know, I think the first 6 months we had him, people didn't rate him. They didn't like him. They didn't think he was good enough. Last season he definitely came more into his own, and I think even more this season. What he does is really special. So yeah, I think he will definitely be a key player and one to watch. I feel like we have quite a young squad. So I don't know if I'd say that anyone else is kind of going to massively break through. I think, you know, last season we had Andrews break through. I think he's going to be one to watch. I think he's going to get a lot of goals this season. And Pollock, Matty Pollock.
This is
Stat I saw somebody like, oh, am I back?
Yeah, you're good.
Matty Pollock, someone had posted this stat, which was, I think it was like the top like 7 domestic leagues or something like that. He had won the most aerial battles. So I think he will definitely be one to watch. I'm not sure how old he is. He's definitely got to be in like young 20s, I'd say. early 20s.
Yeah, his name. I'd not. Yeah, I wasn't too familiar with, but I was kind of, again, just kind of looking on social media at some of the players, the Watford fans have kind of been impressed with so far, and he was definitely one of them. The other one was, I'm not even gonna. And to be fair, I was watching the highlights. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name. He's that Georgian lad.
Georgie.
Yeah,
Georgie.
but that's
I
Georgie.
just call
I'm not
him
even
Georgie.
going to try.
It's easier. Georgie. It's like, yeah, Georgie. See, I don't want to talk about him too much because I am slightly worried he may get pinched. I don't feel completely safe with him yet. But yeah, no, he's been insane. It's like he obviously went to the Euros, played for Georgia. He came back like this whole new player.
Yeah.
Kicks, too good.
Yeah,
really
I saw
good.
that free kick against Millwall was something else, wasn't it? And yeah, he definitely looks an exciting player. So
really special. I'm telling you now, if he keeps going that way, I don't think we'll have him by January.
No. Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? You want these guys to perform, but you don't want them to perform too well, so that yeah, they get snatched away halfway through the season. It's the worst possible thing, isn't it? So
yeah, I think if we keep doing well, if we're pushing for promotion playoffs, obviously have more to hold them. But if we do what we've done previous seasons where we end up finishing mid-table, then if another club comes in.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that, unfortunately, in the Championship, a lot of clubs are in the same boat, aren't they? As long as I think you just got to be prepared. As long as you get good money for your players, so you can reinvest, then you just got to kind of take it on the chin a bit, haven't you? So yeah. So I'll come to you then, Baden. Same question to you then, mate. Who do you think is going to be West Brom's key player this season, and who is fans outside looking in who aren't maybe too familiar with one for them to watch this season?
So, it's a tricky question, I would say attacking wise, I think the focal point of our attack could be a player like John Swift, just mainly on the back of where he's playing on the field. And we've seen it once or twice this season in spells where when John Swift is on the ball and having a good performance, he can dictate the attack and he controls how the Albion play. But when he goes missing, we can look a little disjointed. So I think he could definitely be an important part of what we do this season. Similar defensively, I'd say someone along the lines of a Kyle Bartley, mainly on the back of how much of a leader he is in that back line. But I know I've completely done a mess of answering this question by giving you two people, but those are two players I think could
it's
be.
All right, I'll allow it.
In terms of players to watch, I'd say Tom Fellows. He's just him, to be honest, and he just is a nightmare to have to deal for fullbacks to have to deal with. Similar sort of scenario as what Freya was saying there. He can't play too well, else we'll lose him in January. But
yeah, and what she was saying about Kone as well, I think it's one. I think us Albion fans have got to kind of face the reality that, yeah, he probably, if he carries on playing like he is, and he's get my words out, the trajectory he's taking, he's probably not going to be with the club very long, is he?
Yeah.
So
the only hope we really have with him is if we could somehow manage to get promoted, then I think it would be a scenario of us keeping a hold of him. But if I was even a club along the lines of like an Ipswich or one of those newly promoted clubs, you got to think if we could get this kid for, I say kid because I'm pretty sure he's younger than me. If we could get this kid on our roster, even to be just a squad player and grow him into the talent we think he's going to be, that could be really beneficial for our club. So I think there's always a danger. I think we're at a point, and knock on wood here, that this window, I think we're safe and we'll keep him for the rest of this window, but definitely January could be a tricky time for us if eventually a club comes in for him.
Yeah. Freya, do you think there's anyone other than, we obviously touched on Georgie, the Georgian kind of midfield maestro? Do you think there's anyone else potentially someone might come in for before the end of this window? Are you worried about anyone else, or are you kind of comfortable that you're going to kind of keep?
I was going to say in the last. Yeah, I was saying the last few days we've obviously lost Hoot and we've lost Asprilla. So I don't think anyone else would go. I'd be shocked if they did. The only reason I could see someone leaving is because we bring someone else in and they're not going to get game time, maybe. Like if we happened to bring another striker, and I don't think we did, we would. Obviously, Bay and Rayovic aren't both going to get game time. So there wouldn't be a need for both of them. It wouldn't make sense. We'd keep one of them as kind of like a super sub. No, I think it's just Georgie I'm worried about. I think everyone else pretty much is gone. Spreer and Hoot both went this week, so.
Because still fingers crossed that. I don't know if it's fingers crossed from us, is it, mate? One of our rivals keeping their strongest players, but yeah, fingers crossed for you that you keep hold of him. Yeah, definitely.
I hope they do.
Thank you.
All right. So last question. It's kind of like expectations, I guess. So, what are the team's expectations this season? Obviously, we've had 3 matches, so you got a little bit of something to work with. Yeah. What do you think the team's expectations should be? And then what do you think? Where do you think you're going to finish? Do you think you can achieve those expectations, or what are you thinking? What's your kind of predicted finish? I'll come to you first, then, Freya.
So I would love to finish in playoffs. I think it is possible, but I think we're more likely to finish top 10, top 8. If I'm being like really harsh, I think because we haven't really had a proper challenge. Obviously, we had Millwall away, but I think the next 3 games will be a bit more telling. We also have brought in some new players that haven't actually seen play yet, and I'd be interested once injuries start happening, how that plays out. Yeah, I would absolutely love to be in playoffs, but realistically maybe top 10, top 8. Please, I just don't want to finish below top 10 again. I think if that happens, I don't really know where we go from there, really.
Do you think the Watford fans will see a top 10 finish as a positive?
No, I would not see a top 10 I think it's got to be top 8 pushing for playoffs and narrowly missing out if we did miss out. I would be disappointed, but Championship's hard. It's never an easy league. Anything can happen. One week you can get battered 5-0, the next week you can go and batter 5-0. So it kind of just depends on how things go. I do think that it is a possibility we could really push for playoffs, but I think we have a bad habit of once we start losing a game, we don't stop.
Yeah, I think it's There's so many teams, isn't there, that have got that same kind of desire to be in the playoff mix, and there's so many teams that can actually be in that mix. It's just so competitive, and you forget that how like you said at the start of the video, Watford were in the Premier League 5 seasons ago. I think you were saying there's so many kind of ex-Premier League big teams in the championships now, isn't there, who are all vying for that promotion. It's just so competitive, isn't it? Well, look, you've made a fantastic start, and I know early signs are obviously very positive, and I think you've got some exciting players, and Cleverly seems to be a really up and coming young coach who is spoke quite highly of. So, personally, like I said at the start, I think I had Watford kind of languishing just above the relegation zones. But I think maybe I think I think I might have to kind of change my initial take, because from what I've seen so far, I think they could be a bit of a surprise package this season.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping for that. I saw far too many preseason predictions of us being relegated, and I was like, okay, I know we've had 2 bad seasons, but we were in the Prem. I think it's our 3rd season in the Champ now in a row. And a lot of people were putting us to finish 23rd, 22nd, and I was like, are we that bad? Am I still living a delusion?
In my
So
defense,
no,
I
I think
didn't
it'll
have
be telling. I think the problem is.
No, I was just saying, sorry, in my
Oh,
defense,
go
I
on.
didn't have you that low, but I think I had you I think I went with something like 17th or 18th or something like that. I just had you, another season of struggles. But yeah, I think I might have to
Yeah,
reevaluate
if
that.
someone had asked me, if someone had asked me before the season started, before we, started really bringing players in, I probably would have said, oh, it's going to be another mid-table, slightly below finish again. Another kind of season of nothingness there. I didn't think, that we would. I don't think we'll be in a relegation battle. I don't think we'll be in that situation. But I didn't think that we would play as well as we have, considering that the squad that we're fielding, our starting 11. There's not too many changes to last season. They just seem completely different. I don't know what Cleverley's done over the summer, but it seems to be working.
Brilliant. All right, so I'm going to put you on the spot now. Where do you think you're going to finish?
I'm going to say 7th. I think we're going to narrowly miss out on playoffs, and it pains me to say that, but it'd be very Watford.
I think that'll be a big positive, though. I think. Well, that's just from a neutral looking in, considering, like you said, the last few seasons you've had, and then to then mount a serious playoff push. I think that would be a really positive season for Watford. All right, I'm going to come to you then, Baden. What are the expectations? And first of all, what do you think the fans' expectations are this season? And then, do you think they're achievable? And then where do you think we're going to finish?
See, I personally think there's a bit of a divide in our fan base at the moment, given the fact that we are traditionally, most of us would say traditionally, a Premier League club. Obviously spent 8 years there not too long ago. But given the fact that we have a new owner, there is definitely a side of our fan base who are in the mind that they think it's going to happen straight away. The reality of the financial fair play rules and of course, just the simple fact that we have a new owner, I don't think it's going to be quite that easy. I see a lot of similarities with us and Watford. I think we're maybe a few steps ahead, I would say, if that makes sense. Maybe a little closer to being a solidified playoff team. But I think the realistic expectations for me is a push for a playoff spot and, fight again to try and get back to the Premier League. I'm not quite sure I'm not convinced we're ready for that, to be a Premier League club. Again, I don't know if we have the quality in our squad to attain that, but it's a weird league, and sometimes if you can get on a run and certain players can step up, like your Tom Fellows, who is a young player who's going to continue to grow and hopefully get better, and a few others of those younger players who we've brought in, you never know what can happen. So I think playoffs is a reasonable prediction of where we're going to land this season.
Yeah. All right. Brilliant. Yeah. I personally think, both clubs have made a good start. And from what I've seen so far, I think it's going to be a positive season for both teams. But we all know how quickly things can change in the Championship, don't we? It's so easy to go on a poor run, isn't it? And then the fans get on the team's back and there's pressure on the manager. It can so quickly turn south, can't it, in this division? So, like you said, touch wood. Let's hope both teams kind of keep that upward trajectory, and it's a positive season for both. So, look, I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thank you so much again for coming on to the show. It's been great speaking to you both and getting your thoughts and opinions. I've been saying this to all the guests who've come on, because obviously we're at the start of the season now, but you know, it would be great if we can have you guys back on kind of later on in the season to you know, obviously have a look at things where the clubs are at that point, and obviously analyze things a little bit and kind of give a different take on where we think the season's going and stuff. So yeah, it'd be great to have you guys on again at some point. But yeah, thank you once again for coming on and chatting to me. And yeah, I've seen a few of you guys have been dropping in watching live, so thank you very much for tuning in whilst we've been broadcasting the show. And yeah, to anyone that catches up with the show when it goes up on YouTube afterwards, yeah, thank you very much for tuning in and supporting the page. We really do appreciate it. So until then, guys, I'm going to leave it there. And this is where I always mess up with the outro bit. So I'm looking at my notes, how to do it. So bang, bang, hit outro. Okay, I got it. See you later. I'll catch you guys, two guys in the lobby. Just bear with me.
Go on, Tom.